Hello, my name is Donnell, and I'd like to welcome you to Enemy of My Truth and the journey of what brought me to where I am and who I am today. The following is the prologue to my upcoming book being published in late 2025. Thank you for being here and joining me on this journey. In April 2008, 2 weeks after my youngest son was born, my life unraveled. The truth is, it had been unraveling for a long time, but it took a shock event, a potential heart attack, for me to truly see it. It was a line in the sand moment, a wake-up call I couldn't ignore. Thankfully, the symptoms that looked and felt like I had experienced a heart attack were caused by something else, stress cardiomyopathy. And while it's still a heart condition, it's a temporary one brought on by intense stress. Not only did I have a newborn, a 15-month-old, and a 3-year-old at home at the time, but my marriage was in the midst of breaking down. Stress cardiomyopathy is also known as broken heart syndrome, an irony that was not lost on me. Although I went on to make a full recovery, there was no going back from the message my heart delivered. Change was required, and it had taken my heart breaking, literally and metaphorically, to put me on the path to finally understanding something very fundamental. I had been ignoring my own voice and distrusting my own emotions for a very long time. It would take another 3 years for my marriage to fully end, a raw time, a painful time, and a time in which I continued to change, to evolve. Something within me grew more and more restless, my voice rising up louder, fiercer, desperate to be heard, a version of me desperate to be known. When I look back now, I see how much I wanted to understand this pain and understand what was happening to me, while not realizing it was happening because of me. After years of denying myself the freedom to fully feel or express my emotions, I'd become fearful of change and unsafe in my vulnerability. I hid my anger, buried my sadness, and stayed quiet in disagreements, even when the behavior around me felt wrong. In suppressing my voice, I lost connection with my authenticity. I became the enemy of my truth. There's no blame to place on my husband, no other outside source to attribute that pain to. I can only see how it was a product of not showing up for myself, not speaking my truth or honoring my emotions. I didn't know how, not yet. I often refer to this time in my life and what would follow as both a death and a rebirth, an initiation into a deeper understanding of myself. In the months after my recovery, while that voice in me grew ever restless, I felt an undeniable pull for profound change, something deep, primal, and beyond understanding. 6 months after I was admitted to the hospital, my heart set me on that very different life trajectory. Another piece of the puzzle fell into place. On a chilly October morning in 2008, I walked into my first Reiki class. I often say, you don't find Reiki, Reiki finds you. And that's exactly how it happened for me. Have you ever experienced a visceral truth that hums in your bones, one that needs no proof because you know it? That's what gripped me when I saw a listing for a Reiki certification course at my old high school, tucked away in an adult education flyer. That feeling told me very clearly that I had to take the course, and I listened. Walking out of the first class, the wave of change that had begun 6 months before reached a new crescendo. I was no longer the person I thought I was. It felt like my old self had evaporated, leaving me unrecognizable, even to myself. The disorientation was powerful, like waking up in somebody else's body. But amidst that turbulence, I discovered stillness. In the stillness of practicing Reiki, I found something I'd never known, an unshakable peace and trust in myself that wasn't up for debate. Once you touch that kind of truth, there's no going back. You can try, ignore it, drown it out, cling to the person you used to be, but that truth will only grow louder until you finally listen. The bravest act we can take is to honor it, to step into the unknown and listen. Refuse, and it's like starving your soul. But if you listen, life will erupt into something you've never known, something raw, something real. The more I dared to disrupt all I knew, the freer I became. A door opened, and a new self emerged, unfamiliar, unsettling, yet deeply known, as if she'd been there all along, waiting for me to finally see her, waiting for the courage of my acceptance. The more I explored the healing modality of Reiki, the more I realized my journey with this transformative power was something greater than my own healing and bigger than myself. I had a deep calling to share it with others, and in 2011, I opened my own practice, Blue Tree Reiki. And then something extraordinary unfolded. As I laid my hands on each person in a Reiki session, I started seeing images, feeling emotions, and tuning into sensations. An intuitive knowing started pouring through me. My psychic abilities were coming alive, or rather, they were reawakening. This intuitive knowing wasn't unfamiliar. It had always been a part of me. I knew its whisper as a small child, heard its call as a teenager, but I ignored it, uncertain of what it was and what it meant. Now here, years later, as I laid my hands on my clients, it was as if I'd stepped into an entirely new dimension, a strange yet familiar one where I could sense people's energy fields, their emotions and feelings. As I touched them, I began to receive profound messages from Spirit with the use of my psychic abilities. At first, I was hesitant, vulnerable, even afraid to share what I was experiencing, feeling, and seeing in each session. What if I was wrong? What if the person I was working on didn't understand what I said or shared with them? But the pull to honor these messages was so much stronger than my fear. Slowly, I began to trust myself. I allowed the images, the sensations, the knowing to guide me, not just in offering Reiki's healing energy, but in delivering the insights, the messages that came through. I committed to further training and gradually expanded my practice, realizing that Reiki was actually the gateway, welcoming me back home to step into my intuitive psychic abilities and mediumship. Today, I am using these abilities to reach and work with people worldwide. This journey didn't just shift my purpose, it transformed me at my core. Every client, every message, every lesson shaped me into who I am today. And the lessons from my own life, the challenges, the heartbreaks, the growth, became the foundation of my why. I know what it feels like to walk this path without guidance, to feel alone in your struggles. That's why I'm unwavering in my commitment to those I work with. Today, my work is not just about healing energy, it's about transformation. It's about helping others reclaim their power, rediscover their truth, and step boldly into the lives they were meant to live. This is my calling, my passion, my purpose. To hold steady for those navigating their own storms, offering strength, clarity, and a guiding light until they find their way back to themselves, until they are no longer the enemy of their truth.